Thanks for joining us again. I'm Jonathan Michael, and welcome to episode 3 of The Sacred Project. On today's episode, I'll be interviewing Mike Walsh, President and Executive Director of the National Catholic Broadcast Council and resident deacon at St. Patrick's Parish in Markham. I've also had the pleasure of being cantor and part of the music ministry here at St. Patrick's since 2021. Come and join me as I speak to Mike about his inspiring story. Thank you for joining me today, Mike.
Thank you, John.
With your remarkable journey spanning roles in the tech field, co-founder of the Friends of Dismas, president and executive director of the National Catholic Broadcast Council, and even being a resident deacon here at St. Patrick's Parish. I'm going to delve into that shortly a bit further. But first, can you just let the viewers know when and how did you receive your calling or know your calling to become a deacon?
Well, Jonathan, that's a long journey,
right,
as it is for most of us. Born a cradle Catholic into a lovely Catholic family, and then, as most of us, got busy. Got busy with work and everything else like that. Maybe church wasn't all that essential. And then there was the birth of our first child. My wife and I. We were living in Calgary at the time. We then moved back here to Markham, and entered this parish community at St. Patrick's. And my daughter was born, and that's really where, we really started to become more involved as a member of a community of faith. And my wife, soon after that, we started in the together baptismal prep. We went on a marriage encounter weekend, which was a just amazing faith expanding weekend. You wouldn't think that, but it's a very, very deep part of it. Then my wife got a job here at St. Patrick's as the first pastoral associate. And that just led us even more to become part of the community. We began as members of the RCIA preparation team here.
Okay.
That's where I met Sister Janet Fraser, who was just really just a tremendous leader of that group. And it was this reopening and this re-exploration of the faith for me, which then we had a deacon here, Deacon Vern Bichard. He was just really everything you would think a deacon should be. And one Sunday, he gave this homily. He was working with young offenders at the time. He had many ministries, but this was one. And he spoke of a call he got from a father whose son had been arrested, and he was just distraught. And he said, there wasn't really anything I could do for this man, but we met and I listened. And I thought, I think that's something that I can do. So I entered along with my wife, we entered the diaconate program in 2000, the preparation formation program. I was the 22nd person in a class of 22 people. I made it through and ordained in 2004, and it's been a wonderful journey ever since.
Right. And how have your diverse career experiences influenced or affected the way that you support the church and the community here?
Yeah, well, I think all of us have these life experiences, and if we, use them as we go forward, they're of great help. So most of my career I spent in either sales or marketing in the high-tech industry, as you mentioned. And I got a lot of practice and opportunity to speak to people, either one-on-one or in large groups, sometimes as high as 4,000 or 5,000 people. And public speaking was something that I always really enjoyed and saw it as something I could really grow in. And so, after a number of years, I kind of became the designated person to go and give these kinds of talks, and I really enjoyed it. And I think I've been able to really take the lessons of how do you put a message together. How do you, look at your congregation, in this case, which is a difficult group because in some ways, it's all the way people from 2 years old to 90 years old with different understandings. It's not like a high-tech group. But how do you actually take this message, which is in the Gospels, which is a beautiful message, and really just say, this is what it means to us today. So I think those kinds of skills, and then I developed as well the ability to really listen, I think, and listen effectively. And sit there and engage with people. And those are all things you use in your diaconate ministry. You can't fix things. But as I mentioned with the story with Deacon Vern, couldn't fix it, but I could sit there and I could listen. So I think those are the main skills that I brought forward into my ministry.
The Friends of Dismas is a nonprofit organization that supports individuals who have been touched by crime. As the co-founder of this organization, what inspired you to establish the Friends of Dismas, and how has the organization evolved over the years to meet the challenging needs of those in the community?
Well, again, that's another long story, but I'll try and make it short. And it's been a true blessing to me. So as I mentioned, I entered the diaconate program, and as I was getting close to ordination, one of the things you had to do was go meet with the director of deacons. His name, lovely guy, Bert Cambry, the late Bert Cambry. And I'll never forget going down and meet with him in his office, and we had to discuss what was my ministry going to be. And I had been in the hospital ministry as my practicum practicing. I went and I sat with him, and I said, Bert, I really don't think right now that's my calling to be in the hospital ministry. I think what I should do is work with the homeless. That's where I kind of feel calling. And he said, Mike, I have a friend, and his name is Harry. And Harry is the community chaplain here for Corrections Canada in Toronto. And I think you should go and meet him because he works with ex-prisoners, and many of them have been homeless at one point or another. And I thought, and I might even said to Bert, well, okay, I'll go for the meeting, but I've decided that this is probably what might be best for me. And he says, okay, take the meeting, as we would say, a business. But we actually had lunch. It was at an A&W. I met Harry for the first time, and I just really was quite intrigued by everything that he said, his work and his ministry. So I said, yes, I think that's the Holy Spirit working, and Bert Cambry, saying that this is where I think your skills could really be of help to a very marginalized group. Kind of the modern day lepers in many cases, right? So I said, well, that's a challenge. I will certainly say yes to that. And just a couple weeks ago, we celebrated our 20th anniversary of the Dismas Fellowships.
Oh.
So the way it started was Harry had already had this idea with a couple of other people that we would create a little group that would meet on Friday nights in a church basement. We would share a meal, and after the meal, which would be prepared by us, we would just tell our stories and share. What, if you wanted to, if you didn't, whatever. And the first one was about 12 people, a mixture of ex-prisoners and volunteers. I still remember it was macaroni and cheese. And from there, 20 years later, there's 8 or 9 fellowships here in Ontario that meet on a regular basis. The Friends of Dismas was created a few years later as the charity, just to raise a few dollars really for community chaplaincy programs.
Right.
That was created with the help of Catholic Charities, Bert Cambry and another guy named Mike Fullen. I really am thankful to the late Cardinal Ambrozic. He said yes to a small bit of funding, allowed us to get started. And now we have, over the years, hundreds of people have been involved. And it really has also been a ministry that encourages people of faith to get involved and share their gifts however they want, whether it's through prayer. We had the ministry of prayer, whether it was through cooking a casserole, the ministry of works, and in some cases the ministry of friendship, which is where some of the great stories really over the years take place.
Right.
So that's how that started. It started just with this little idea. And Harry has always been very good at telling me the Holy Spirit is the one in charge, and it will go on for as long as we need it to go on, or it's needed. And here we are 20 years later. So it's been a beautiful, beautiful ride.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Can you share a powerful success story of somebody you know whose life was positively impacted by the organization's programs?
Yeah, there's many. There's many sad stories. One of the things you learn about people who've been touched by crime or have committed sometimes some of the worst offenses that you can think of. When you sit and you talk with them and you hear their life story, at some point you just want to say, okay, we'll just stop talking because this is really, but I'm thinking of one guy, probably the guy I was closest to over the years. There's been a few, but this is a story that actually just came up the other day in our 20th anniversary. His name is Gordy. Gordy was, he was a true ex-convict, kind of, hard name. He had a hard, he was a hardcore, long-term offender.
Right.
He'd done time in some of the hardest prisons in Canada, maximum security. Very, very difficult childhood when you hear his story. Just that's what he knew, when he was young. This is how they actually survived, him robbing places. Right. And then he graduated into banks, and then it got violent. And so he did a lot of time. And he was quite institutionalized when I met him. So now he's coming out. He was in the halfway house that I was part of. And so we just became friends. We started to walk together, talk together, Harry and I both with him. And he became a big member of, we'd come to Dismas. Now he wouldn't always come. Anyways, this took years, right? So in and out of his life. But he was a special guy. He actually came to my mom's funeral vigil. And when he came up to me, one of my favorite stories, he came up to me and he had a toque on and he looked out of place, I must admit. But he said, Mike, if anybody asks what I do, just tell them I'm in criminology. All right, so I was really touched by him coming.
Yeah.
It was a number of the guys that came. Anyway, the success story, because you have to redefine success sometimes. But Gordy had 3 wishes in life. One is that when he'd die a free man. He would die with no drugs in his system, and that people would come to his funeral. Because when I first met him, he was convinced that if he died, no one would come to his funeral. None of his family, he was estranged from them, all of that.
Right.
Through the years, at these Dismas dinners, he would sit with different people. And one of them is actually a parishioner here at St. Patrick's.
Okay.
And I call this the story of the rhubarb pie. So they met when they were having dinner together. I wasn't even part of this. And somebody had brought a rhubarb pie, and they were eating it together, and they both discovered that they loved rhubarb. And Shirley, here's her name, mentioned to Gordy that she also loves stewed rhubarb. And Gordy just says, oh, stop. That's one of my favorite things. I haven't had that since I was a kid. Oh. So she agreed to bring him some stewed rhubarb. So the next meeting, she brings this thing, and she says, it's very tart. I like it tart. Gordy says, I like it tart too. So then he tried it, and then a couple of meetings, or whenever they met up again, Shirley tells the story that Gordy was just over the moon with this, that he just loved this stewed rhubarb.
Right.
And over the years that transpired, and again, Gordy would come and he would go, I think there was over 12 bottles of stewed rhubarb that was given to Gordy. And it doesn't sound like a big thing, but it showed that somebody cared enough to spend time with him and to do this kindness. And then one day I got a phone call, and Gordy had been walking in downtown Toronto, and he had collapsed. And it was in a part of town where people thought he was just drunk, and they had just stepped over him and stuff like that until they realized he was unconscious, but he was still alive, and they took him to the hospital, and I got a call. And Harry and I went down. And by this time, Gordy had reconciled with a good chunk of his family. I got to meet some of them. And he was not going to recover from this. Right. And he had left me as his power of attorney. So I was the one that had to make the decision to end the life support, And then, so we did that, and he lived for another day or so. And so we sat with him, and we told stories. And the reason I say it's a success story is that when he died a free man. The autopsy showed he had no drugs in his system. And we had a memorial for him in that church basement, and over 100 people came, and we laughed and we cried. And one of them was Shirley, who had made him the rhubarb.
Right.
So I count that as a success story, not only for Gordy, but for the volunteer Shirley, whose life was really impacted by this act of Christian charity. And she will tell you that she got way more out of this than she ever put in. So to me, that's success.
Absolutely. There is the sunshine, there the moonlight, and all the stars in heaven above. Jesus shines brighter, Jesus shines purer, and brings to all the world his love. Fair are the meadows, fairer the woodlands, glory, give praise and glory evermore. Give praise and glory praise and glory evermore. In March of 2023, the Daily TV Mass celebrated its 25th year anniversary, which is a great achievement and milestone. And I was hoping we could just shift now to talking about your role as president and executive director of the National Catholic Broadcast Council. With such a busy schedule that you already had, how did you decide to step into this position, and what motivated you to take on yet another significant role?
Well, again, that's a good long story, but when I left the tech world behind, I decided that what I really wanted to do was just concentrate on doing some things, in the charity sector. I ran another small not-for-profit, the Henry Nouwen Society, actually, for a couple of years. Then an opportunity came up for me to teach a bit at one of the local community colleges, which was a really tough job. That was way more work than maybe I wanted to do. But I really enjoyed it. So again, I always wanted to do that. And that was about 4 years I did that, along with my diaconal ministry. And then I just got a phone call from a headhunter, actually, that was looking to fill this position. And strangely enough, I knew the National Catholic Broadcasting Council was established by a guy named Michael McManus, who was a real force, actually, in the Catholic broadcasting world. He had been a priest at one time. He had left, married his wife, Barb, who worked with him at the NCBC, as we call it. And then, he was just ready to retire. But we had a slight connection with them through our son's school. They both went to the same school. So when I got the call, I said, okay, this would be something that I would be very interested in. Although I had no real experience in broadcasting, per se. So when I sat down with the group and we started to talk about the role, it became clear to me that the broadcasting side was actually pretty well taken care of. They knew how to produce the Mass. They had an excellent director. They knew how to do that part of it. The challenge was, how do we come into this new world that's unfolding? The National Catholic Broadcasting Council was originally established by the Conference of Catholic Bishops here in Canada to see how we might best put the church on TV. And they tried a number of different ideas out. They did a documentary, they did a few things. But that's when they settled 25 years ago on putting the Mass on TV every day. Well, I think as we all know, probably if you're watching this, you're not watching it on TV. There are a number of different ways in which we now get our media content. And so that was really what they were looking for, somebody who had that kind of experience, and that fit very well. So again, I think that it was the Holy Spirit, in a sense, saying, look, Mike, I think this is your next role. Be open to it. And it's been just a beautiful journey as well. I've met so many people and been so touched by the passion of the people that are involved with the production, like yourself, our priests, our celebrants, our production crew, and our office team. It's just been it's 8 years now. It's just been really a dream job for me at this point in my life, where I think I can have some impact and really be part of a team, which I think is the most important part. It's not one person. There's many people that go into making sure that people can stay connected to their faith, even though they can't come perhaps to their parish every week. So that's how it happened, and I just said yes, and it was the best yes, I think. The diaconate, yes. This, yes. Of course, marry my wife. That was also,
Can't forget that.
that was the number one yes.
What to say?
Yeah, I've been very blessed that way.
Great. During the unprecedented times of COVID, we witnessed for the first time people's inability to gather together in churches and worship. Could you share how the daily TV Mass has played a role in filling this void for Roman Catholics across Canada and around the world, actually?
Well, I think that ties back to what we were just talking about a little bit, that when I started here, one of the main mandates was to say, okay, well, the original mandate was how do you put the Mass on TV? Then now when I came in, it was how do you make the TV Mass? We actually went to that branding, daily TV Mass, to say, look, this is different than going to Mass in your parish. That's still the number one absolute best way to experience Mass. It is the way to go to Mass, actually. Right. The daily TV Mass, we call it a sacred devotion, right? But if you can't get there, this is the way in which, and the way I'd like to talk about it is stay connected to the faith, right? The Pope Francis, in his very early interviews, he likened the church to a field hospital, that it has to be there and be ready for when things happen. And so when I joined, as I mentioned, one of the mandates was to say, look, and how do we make the TV Mass now available on medium other than just TV? Right. And so that's where we went, and we spent our early days working on our website and our YouTube channel, and then on our app. So when COVID hit, I'll never forget that, actually. It was Palm Sunday. And we were at the time on a Sunday Mass, which we had started broadcasting a number of years earlier with the Archdiocese of Toronto. We would be getting, 75,000 views on YouTube at the time, maybe 50. Right. Maybe not even that, I don't know. Then you remember the first lockdowns really hit, and the next Sunday was Palm Sunday. Right. And I remember looking, and I think we ended at 400,000 views for that particular Mass, right? So we were just there. We were like that field hospital. Wow. We were there when people needed it. Now, it hasn't stayed at that because obviously the other churches have, with streaming and other things. Right. But still, on an average Sunday, I would say on YouTube, on our website, on our daily TV Mass app, it's a congregation, it's a community of about 200,000 people. Wow. And on a weekday, it would be 125, 130,000 with all of those put in. Right. So I think the service we provided at COVID was we were there, we were available, we were easy to find, and it was a community people liked to join because, we have beautiful homilists, that's the comment I get most. People really like the variety of the homilists. Right. They love the cantors, it's well put together. The music is beautiful. It's very respectful. Right. And it's not the same as going to Mass in the parish, but if you can't get there, it's a way in which to stay connected to your faith and a community of prayer. So that's what I think our service was on COVID, is that we were available and we remain available, and we're growing all over the world every day. Indeed, yes.
I'm sure you've received a number of calls and emails from viewers worldwide that tune into the Daily TV Mass. But what are some of the most heartwarming or memorable stories or feedback from viewers that you've received in the past?
Well, I think that's been the most surprising part of the ministry for me. Michael McManus and Barb, they shared some letters and things, and you can just see it in people's, when they reach out and they want to tell you how much something meant. All right. But let me just give you a couple of examples. And this is what surprised me. So when I joined, it was a very small team at the time, and we've since grown. And we have this beautiful team in the office that's there, and the number one job is to answer the phones for when people call in. And it's not only for things like sponsoring a Mass or whatever. You really get a sense of how people are lonely sometimes, or they want to talk to you.
Right.
Right? And the ladies, they're beautiful. They'll sit, they'll listen, they'll try and help people. It's not counseling in any way. It's really just listening.
Right.
As I've told them, you're not in that. But people just want to say, we appreciate what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helped me.
Yeah.
Most of the touching ones, people call, say, my husband just died. Can we have a mass for them? Can we put them in the prayer intentions book? And speaking of that, so in the month of November, each November, and this is the second that's really touched me, we actually reach out to everybody in our community and we say, listen, during the month of November, which is the month of remembrance, we have this book of remembrance. And if you want to send us the names of those who have passed away in your family, your loved ones, send them in.
Right.
And I think this year we're probably going to get well over 100,000 names sent in from all over the world. Sometimes 3 pages of names people will send in. Sometimes just one name. Right? And so we enter all of those in our daily prayer book of remembrance. And each Mass we offer a prayer for those who are in purgatory. Mm-hmm. But this touches me as well, because many of the times we'll get people who will put this in their request. Can we pray for all of those who have no one to pray for them? Right. And I think this is a beautiful part of the touching part of the daily TV Mass ministry and the community, is that we hold all of these people in prayer. So I've been very touched by that. There's a number of people that our staff stays very closely in touch with. They're elderly, right. And just heartwarming to see some of those messages that come back that, that they remember them on their birthday or whatever. Those kinds of things have really, really touched me.
Right. So what message or invitation would you like to send to those viewers who may be considering tuning into the daily TV Mass for the first time?
Well, interesting way you asked the question, because one of the things that I got schooled on very early is that they're not viewers.
Okay.
But it's a good way to ask that question. Make that point.
Right.
And I try always not to mention that, because I will get a few calls.
Right.
And people don't view themselves as viewers. And it's not a TV program in a sense.
Right.
It's a community. Right. And so as people are looking, and there's options on the internet of where you can go and watch a mass virtually. I would say, look, I would like to extend an invitation to you to become part of this community, which is this community of prayer. And when you think about what it really is, hundreds of thousands of people every day coming together in prayer around the world. Right. And so it's this community. And we always try to speak of it that way, right. And think of people, when we look at, when I have a new priest come, I say, you look at the lens here, you're not talking to the people who are here, the crew that's here, you're talking to that one person at the end of that lens there who's sitting, and we need to make them feel part that they're not alone in any way, that they're part of this wider community. Right. And I think for the most part, that's what we've been able to accomplish. And as I mentioned, this Book of Remembrance project, not really project, it's a ministry in its own right, where people send in the people that they've lost, that they're grieving. That to me is what community is all about, is just be there when you need, just to know that you're not alone. Right. So that's what I would say. Come join a community. Even if you are alone, you're not alone, right? Because we are all connected through this faith, through the Mass. And then to quote Pope Francis again, one of my favorite quotes is that the Mass is the very mystery at the center of our salvation. Which is, we called our mission that we did with Father Coots in our little booklet, Mass, the mystery at the center of our salvation. And you're part of that mystery when you join us at the daily TV Mass, regardless of if it's on your TV, your iPad, your iPhone, whatever it might be, you're not alone. You're part of a community.
Right. You had briefly touched upon it previously, but for those that are interested in watching the daily TV Mass, what are the different ways that they can access the Mass?
Well, again, we've been working very hard to make sure that we can make the Mass on TV, the daily TV Mass, available anywhere, anytime. Right. So that's been really what the last 8 years has been all about. So obviously on TV.
Right.
So we're on a number of broadcast channels here in Canada, and we've grown that to a number of new channels over the years. So this is kind of destination TV for a lot of people. So they have their time, they come, they watch it on TV. Right. So the other options are to, we built a new website. So the Mass is prominent on the website. So if you just come to dailytvmass.com, you will see the website, but you'll also there see all the links to the other options that are available to you, and you'll see the other things that are running. For example, during October, we just announced and made available the Daily TV Rosary. Right. So now there's ways in which every day, if you want to pray the various mysteries of the Rosary, you can do that as part of the community as well. Right. That was a project that we thought of because many people who come to daily Mass come either early or stay late with a group, and they pray the Rosary. Right. So now we can do that as a community as well. So our website, that's the easiest way to come in, find out all the other connections. The largest is our YouTube channel, so that you can find that again off our website, or just Google Daily TV Mass, actually, and the YouTube channel will come up. Right. So you can find it there. And the most recent one is our Daily TV Mass app. Okay. So we developed an app actually a number of years ago. Then what we decided to do, it's a technical thing. We decided to take it to the next level so that people could not only have it available on their phones or iPads or tablet, whatever it might be, but right on their TVs, smart TVs and those things. So we developed with our partners these various apps that you can download, and it has all of our content, and each Mass will be on there every day. Right. So one of the things that's difficult sometimes for people as they get older, especially, is just finding it, or maybe they don't have the internet. But if they have a smart TV now, just like Netflix or something like that, you can download the app and it'll be right there on TV, and you just click on that app and the daily Mass will be there. So we continue to invest in making sure that the Mass is available in many different ways, using technology as possible, so that we can continue to grow the community. Right. So, and if they're ever in doubt, again, just go to the website. You'll see our phone number there. You can always call, and the office team will be more than happy to help you find a way in which to view the Mass or send us an email. Right. That's kind of what we do.
I remember reaching out to you in, I believe, right during the heart of the pandemic, sending you an email because obviously church here had been shut down. I used to was watching the Daily TV Mass with my family, and I was like, yes, I'd like to do that. And I remember sending you an email asking if you were looking for any other cantors. And obviously you responded, invited me down for a taping in August, which was aired in September of 2020. And I've been part of the Daily TV Mass family for the past 3 years. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for that invite. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time going down to the Abbey and being part of the Mass. And thank you for everything that you've done with regards to the Friends of the Dismas and with regards to ensuring that Roman Catholics and people have a Mass to be on a daily basis. It's a very important service that you provide. So thank you very much, and thank you for allowing me to be part of the Daily TV Mass family.
Let me just say that we've been much blessed to have you with us and share your talents and your singing and other, just a welcome part of the team. And I know that you've been working very hard on this new CD, this new works that you're doing, and it's just been great to be a part of that. And sharing your gifts, and I think that's really what the call of all of us are. Some of us, don't have the gift of being able to sing, and I will put my hand up at that point, right? Because
I was hoping we could do a duet on the show.
No, people at the church have actually recommended that I never sing again, right? So having you and the other cantors and the musicians, and certainly through the pandemic, where we really relied on you guys to really, be there during difficult situations. You allowed us to continue to reach out and touch all of those people in our community. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you for tuning into today's episode of The Sacred Project. I'd like to thank Deacon Mike Walsh for being our guest today, and providing further insights into his organizations and his meaningful involvement in the daily TB Mass. Thank you for watching. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the Thank you for being part of the Sacred Project journey. Your support means the world. To help contribute to the creation of more episodes, please visit our website at thesacredproject.ca. You can also explore and obtain music from the series by visiting thesacredproject.ca. If you'd like to experience these beautiful hymns live in concert, come join us on these special dates. For more details and ticket information, visit thesacredproject.ca. Let's continue the musical journey together. See you at the concerts. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.